we get to be in front of a lot of people, and that is terrifying. I think I should have said something already instead of just standing here awkwardly. They're wondering what's wrong with this dude. I don't know. I thought this would be a good idea. I regret everything. This is already off to a horrible start. Hello and welcome. If that sounded familiar, I'm making this video for you because stage fright and fear of public speaking is one of the number one top fears, and also it's one of the top skills that'll help you get everything you've ever wanted in life. So I want to go over some big picture ways to approach it and to think about it, some smaller and then day of moments before going out there kind of approaches that help you be more comfortable being in front of a large audience of people or standing in front of a camera like this. I will be drawing on my experience in front of more than 15,000 audiences and going out for America's Got Talent and live television, going on the news TV shows in the early morning to promote shows. So I've gone through all of this myself. I wasn't always so comfortable being in front of a large group of people. I had to learn how to do this. So I want to share some of my approaches that have helped me get through those experiences, because on the other side of all of those was a fantastic time. So let's dig in. The first thing we want to do is figure out what kind of anxiety it is. There are basically three, maybe four kinds of feeling bad that winds up being called stage fright. And the first one is I'm not prepared. I feel like I might mess up and I'm not ready for this. Then the second is that I've never done something like this. So even though I'm good at what I do and I know I'm going to be flawless, this is a new situation with new variables that I don't have any control over. And therefore, I have very good reason to freak out about it. The third kind is that this is high stakes, that I can't afford to screw this up, and everything is riding on this one situation. This is my make or break moment, and if I mess up, then my whole life is ruined. And then the fourth kind of anxiety is the one that makes the most sense to me. Maybe you've never thought about it, but prey animals like sheep and goats and cows, they've got their eyes on both sides of their head so that they can see as much of the horizon as possible. They want to keep their eyes open for predators. Predators tend to have both of their eyes on the front side of their face so they can focus on that tasty prey animal. And what do humans have? Two eyes right there on the front side of their head. So it really makes sense that you might be nervous about standing on stage by yourself in front of a room full of 1,000 of the universe's most powerful and dangerous predators with nothing between you and them. That is deeply unsettling. And I think that's a big part of what makes public speaking so nerve-wracking. It's not that my friends are going to make fun of me or I'm going to mess up. It's that I'm now in front of thousands of predators, and I don't see a lot of people talking about that. So it really makes sense to be nervous about that situation. So I want to help you walk through that and to desensitize yourself to that with a couple different ways of thinking about it. Now, if you have the first kind of anxiety that you're worried that you're going to mess up, there really is no secret tip, trick, hack. You just got to be good. The only answer is practice, practice, and even more practice. So if you've got any idea that you might mess this up, then go put your mind to practicing consciously on improving your skill set, not just going through the motions, but consciously working on developing your abilities and working through it. Now, one of my mentors said that an amateur practices until they get it right, and a professional practices until they can't get it wrong. And if you don't think that that's possible, that means you're still in the amateur arena and you could afford to put more time into cultivating your skill set. So that's it. That's really the only thing is more time, more effort, more practice into knowing your stuff and making sure that you know it inside and out. So if you've got to pitch investors or you've got to present something that you should know inside and out, if you haven't practiced enough, you might think, well, I don't want to sound rehearsed. I don't want to sound scripted. There hasn't been a single person that I've worked with, that I've coached on presentation skills that put in enough practice and then said, I wish I didn't put in so much effort into this. Not a single one, not a single one. So if you're kind of resisting the urge to put in more work because you don't want to sound scripted, that is a big barrier to your success. Now, if it's the second kind of anxiety where there are new elements and dynamics or something that you've not done before, that is honestly that's the one that gets me the most. If there are things that are outside my control, that can tend to be the most nerve wracking. Like when I was out for America's Got Talent, I'm backstage. We got cameras everywhere. Nick Cannon is right over there, and I've seen the judges walk by, and you see people going out like gladiators to their death, and then there are what, a dozen, 15 cameras, and you have no clue where they are. I've got no control over which one might have a bad angle and expose everything I'm doing. And that was just something that I had to come to peace with, was that the producers are more interested in creating good television, not necessarily just making me look bad. So I am going to trust them to do their job, and I'm going to be able to focus on me doing what it is that I need to do. So that was my approach. If you've got case number three, where this is the high stakes situation where it's going to make or break your career, you can relax. Like going out for America's Got Talent, that was fun. That was fantastic. It was extraordinarily nerve-wracking, but also it didn't make or break my career. Like, sure, if you win the entire thing or you get to the second couple final rounds, then yes, it does help out your career. But a single appearance on television, that's not going to help. It's not going to rocket you to stardom, and it's also, if you mess up, probably not going to destroy your career, because even if it does destroy your career, you can make your career again about rebuilding your career after destroying it by doing that silly thing on TV. So it really doesn't matter in the long time frame. So that's the approach to take, is to think beyond just this right here is going well or not so well. Think about it at 5, 10 year time frame. And was this really something that was that bad that 10 years later you should still regret it? Probably not. You'll get over it, you'll learn your lesson, and then apply that moving forward. And if it's number four kind of anxiety, being in front of a room full of the universe's most dangerous predators, well, then exposure therapy will help you out. The more you do this, the more comfortable you will get. I strongly suggest that you get in front of a camera or join Toastmasters if you are a public speaker or you want to speak in front of real human beings. Toastmasters is probably your best bet in terms of availability and number of open slots that you'll be able to do, because you could go to an open mic night for comedy, but yeah, I hope you're funny, right? Because if you are just practicing being a public speaker, then there aren't that many places for you to practice that aside for Toastmasters. So there's a lot to Toastmasters that's very regimented. It's a very set procedure, very copy paste. Here's our approach. Here's what we do. Here's what's to do next, kind of a thing. So that kind of structure can help you out. I would just urge you to keep in mind why you're practicing this, because it is easy to drink the Kool-Aid and then make your whole life being about Toastmasters instead of leveraging your public speaking skills to improve your career. And one last kind of big picture thing is if you tell yourself that you've got stage fright or you're freaked out about the idea of doing this thing, then you are going to have the physiological experiences that tell you that you are freaked out. And then you're going to get in your own head that, oh my goodness, I'm freaked out. And then you have that spiral like I showed at the beginning of the video. A simple thing to do is to tell yourself, I'm excited to share what it is that I do. And that little tweak, I don't have stage fright. I'm excited to go do what I do. And telling yourself that you're excited and jazzed about this opportunity, you've got the same physiological experiences. Your whole body will tingle, your hands might go numb, your field of view will narrow. And instead of interpreting that as, oh my goodness, I've got that stage fright I've heard so much about and I'm about to fail, instead you're going, I am super focused, I am jazzed, I am ready to do this thing. And it's a completely different way of thinking about what it means that you've got this physiological response. And that little trick might be all you need to completely transform how comfortable you are in front of an audience. So now into the kind of tips and tricks approach. In the weeks leading up to America's Got Talent and knowing that, okay, I'm going to be going out in front of Howard Stern, Heidi Klum, Mel B, Howie Mandel. This is a big deal. And it was a big deal. A lot of pressure, a lot of things that I didn't have control over, but I knew that I knew my stuff. So what I did in the weeks leading up to filming was imagine as much of the process as I possibly could. So I would just sit down, close my eyes, and then go through. I'm going to have to be backstage. The tech crew is going to have to put on my microphone. I'm going to be in the wings. I'll be able to see the stage. We'll have to do sound check. And in my head, I'm going through this as much as possible and imagining all the cameras around me. And I would try to think of as many things that would freak me out as I could, and then I would have that emotional response. I would have that physiological hit of adrenaline. And then I would just sit there in that fight or flight or freeze moment and then process through that. Then I would rewind, start over, and then think of that thing that spiked the adrenaline, and then sit with that again. And eventually that cycle would be less and less, right? It would go faster and faster. And the amplitude of the, oh my God, was a lot lower. And eventually that section wouldn't really freak me out anymore. And then I would go to the next part. So step by step, I would walk through the process and help my body freak out from the comfort of my own living room rather than going through this the first time in real time and then freaking out in real time. What happened was during the filming, sure, it was exhausting. It was high emotional amplitude, but it wasn't anything that my body system hadn't experienced already because I had given it exactly this scenario 100, 1,000 times in the weeks leading up to it. So while the real deal is more intense than your imagination, the fact that you've done your imagination 1,000 times more makes up for that difference. So that is a really powerful approach that gives you something to do in the time leading up to this big thing that you've got to do. And that way your non-conscious mind is going, oh yeah, I've been through this a lot. This is easy. I know exactly what to do with it. So day before the big event, what do you do? Make sure you drink a lot of water, rehearse, go over things, and rehearse. I mean, go through the whole thing, not just say what it is, not just practice clicking your slides forward. I mean, go through the whole thing. If you have to set up your laptop, set up your laptop. If you have to plug in a projector, go get a projector, plug it in, and work through the entire presentation as though you're giving it for real, because you might discover that the pants that you're going to wear, the remote, there's nowhere to put them, or the belt doesn't work for some weird reason, and that's now distracting. You want to find that out before the real event. So that's why a real rehearsal is all the components of the performance or presentation done together in real time from start to finish without pausing in between to mimic the experience of doing this in real time. That will give you a lot more insight into places that you should tweak, fix, or change a little bit to make tomorrow go a little easier. Make sure, again, if I didn't say it already, drink water. Drink even more water. I should probably tell you to drink water later as well, if I remember it. But it's important to stay hydrated, get enough sleep, because I know that there are certain elements of my show that require a lot of memory. And if I'm tired, if I only had 3 hours of sleep on the plane, and then now I'm here to do this presentation, the memory demonstrations are way more difficult if I've had very little sleep. All right. It is day of, moments before you're going out. Maybe it's early morning before your big event. What do you do? Well, again, drink water, be prepared, go through everything. A handy tool is a checklist for everything that you're going to need. Because again, if you've got any kind of tools, visual aids, you've got the computer, charger, dongles, everything, put it in a checklist and then go through every single thing and check it off. Make sure you look at everything before you check it off. Don't assume that that dongle is in that bag. Open that pouch, look at it, then check it off, because I can't tell you how many times I took it out to go rehearse and then forgot to put it back in the pouch and then show up and then I don't have my dongle. So don't be me, right? So then moments before you're going out, focus on your breathing. There tends to be a lot of tension, right? Like I feel a lot of tension right before I'm going out. And it's me kind of trying to resist that, energy. And if you can breathe and open up and just expand your whole everything, you realize you've got a lot more room inside for all that freak out than if you were trying to clamp it down and to stop it from happening. It almost now has more wall to push against, and now you've got a lot more friction. But if you just relax and open up, it has nothing to push against, and then you don't feel that same kind of tension that you have if you're trying to ignore it or tell yourself you don't have it. So again, reframing it as, oh, I'm excited. I'm just excited to go do what I do. That will help out a lot. A great breathing technique is called box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And then you just do that box breathing. And every time you go a little slower and then a little slower, and that slowing down of your breath is the bridge between your mind and your mind telling your body that you're in a situation where you can afford to slow down. You don't need to process oxygen this fast. We're not running from all these predators. They're our friends. I too am a predator. These are my people, right? So that will help calm down your nerves. Another thing is I was in the wings. I was off stage. I'm just about to go on stage for America's Got Talent, and I was telling myself, "This is what you want. This is what you've worked for. I'm here to have fun." And I just told myself that over and over and over. I didn't let anything else in. I was here. This is what I do. I want this. I've worked a long time for exactly this moment. So why would I be afraid of what I've asked the universe for and what I've spent my whole life building? That doesn't make sense. So that kind of mantra of this is what I want, this is what I've been working for, I am ready for this. That's good to have in your head to push out all the doubts and what ifs of what happens if this goes wrong. So those are a bunch of things to do and things to think about and how to think about it. There's one big thing that I would like to tell you not to do, to avoid completely, no matter how much sense it makes, and that is do not self medicate. I can't tell you the number of performers and speakers that drink booze before going out. They'll have a beer or five. They'll have a couple shots. It calms my nerves. It helps me. It helps me perform better. Happens with musicians too, where I'm more creative. I'm more in the moment if I'm performing while drunk, and that gives you a warped perception of how the performance goes, and it dulls your senses to being able to respond in the moment at a high level to be the amazing speaker slash performer that you are. And if you start self medicating, you now believe that you can't do the thing without the medication. And that sets up a really dangerous precedent and a powerful association that for me to do my job, I have to drink. And without drinking, I can't do my job. And now your mind believes that I can't get paid unless I'm drunk. And I have seen that happen to people I care about too often to not mention it here. In the short term, it hurts your performance, but you won't realize it because you'll think you did better than you did. And in the long term, it will ultimately hurt your career because it hurts your life to tie success to a drug or some external substance that you think you need in order to do what it is that you do. So there you go. That's the big picture of how to solve your stage fright. Don't call it stage fright. Tell yourself you're excited to do this. Practice until it's perfect, and then practice 1,000 more times so that you could do this in your sleep. Use your imagination to freak yourself out from the comfort of your own home so that when you go do it for real, your non-conscious mind goes, oh yeah, we've done this a lot. And then focus on your breathing. Tell yourself you're here to have a good time. Love your audience. And before you know it, you will wonder why you were ever concerned in the first place. So if you want more ideas and insights like this about the world of public speaking and performing, I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel. Or if you're not ready for that commitment yet, I suggest that you watch this video next. And if you'd like to connect with me, head over to icanreadminds.com. As always, remember that if you change your mind, you can change your life.